Anyway, in unity, there's a concept called divine order. And divine order simply says that everything happens in its right time. It also says many things happen that seem bad or unfortunate in the beginning, present opportunities for a greater good that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Well, I was trying to explain this to my cousin Ozzy, and he just wouldn't buy in, so to speak. So I advised him to just be aware when he's in a bad situation, how that sometimes turns into a good situation. A couple weeks later, he got in a car accident. He was driving down a winding road outside of Nunda, South Dakota, where he lives. He went around one curve, kind of wandered outside his lane, over the line, and went around a curve and had a head-on collision with another car. After the dust settled, both the men got out, and Ozzy recognized him as a person from Rutland, South Dakota, which is just a stone's throw from Nunda. And he also remembered that about a year ago, Rutland had challenged Nunda to a horseshoe tournament. And in the midst of the tournament, there was a contest against one of the throws. Rutland thought it was good, Nunda thought it was bad. They continued to debate it out until Ozzy and this fellow got into a shouting match that led to fisticuffs. They vowed never to speak to each other again. Now here they are on the road, all alone, in the midst of this accident. Ozzy says, "This is divine order. I think God made this happen so we would come together, mend our ways, and live a peaceful life together." The guy says, I think that might be it, Ozzy. Now he said, "Look at this. This is divine order. I had 2 pints of whiskey in my car, and they didn't break. I think that is divine order as well. God meant to us to drink this whiskey and celebrate the new peace treaty between us." And the guy says, "I'll go for that." Ozzy gave him a pint. He kept one for his own. Well, the other man unscrewed the cap, and he took a big swig, licked his lips, and says, "Wow, that's good. That hits the spot." Took another swig. And as they were chatting, the man kept swigging on his pint until it was almost gone. And then he noticed that Ozzy hadn't taken a drink. And he said, "Aren't you going to drink yours, Ozzy?" And Ozzy said, "I think I'll just wait for the police to come." Okay. I am so excited today about the new year and all the opportunities that lie before us. Especially excited about the new series that's starting today entitled, Then How Shall We Live? And for the next 5 weeks, including today, we're going to talk about how should we live. We were never really given any lessons on life. We're taught reading, writing, arithmetic, history, all these other things, but not really how to live your life according to the desires within your heart and be a beneficial presence in the world. So to approach this question, we need to go back to the very beginning. In the beginning, for each and every one of us, there was a time when we were born into this world, the beginning of our life, our birth, and there'll come a time for each of us when our life is complete and we leave this world, the end. In between the beginning and the end, there is an imaginary line, a timeline, so to speak. We call it our lifetime. And we spend our entire lifetime relating to everything outside of us and the thoughts inside of us. We can have no experience whatsoever without relating to something, somebody, ourselves, or God. Relating is everything. And when we relate on a certain thing for a period of time, we develop a relationship with it. Experts in human studies tell us that 85% of all the experience we have in life comes from our relationships with other people. 85%. 85% of your joy, 85% of your sadness, all comes from a relationship with another person. Now, relating is important. And how do you relate? We cannot relate without communicating. There has to be some sort of communication between ourselves and something else, or even if we're admiring something, some communication in our head in regards to what that is and how we feel about it. Communication is essential to build any healthy relationship. The only way we can communicate with anybody is through words. Words are the most powerful tool that we have. The sound of our voice is stronger than any army, greater than any bomb. Words can build up, words can tear down. Words can be joyful, words can be woeful. Words are the way we communicate how we feel to other people and how they feel to us. Words. Now the problem is, especially in this country, our words are difficult. English is a very difficult language. Some words mean one thing, but they actually represent something totally different. People that come here from a foreign country, they get confused with our words. They try to drive on the parkway and drive on the parkway and, it's like, I'll get this. They try to park in the parkway and drive on the driveway. Okay. That's the time when you turn the sound down, Christopher. Oftentimes we'll say something that has a very special meaning to us, but the person we're speaking to might have exactly the opposite feeling. There was an old lady who went out on her porch, she's devoutly religious, went on her porch every single morning, raised her arms in the sky and yelled, "Praise the Lord." She did this consistently. Well, an atheist moved in next door. And when he heard this, he took offense to it. So whenever he heard her say, "Praise the Lord," he'd go out and say, "The Lord doesn't exist." And this went on and on and on. Well, one day a snowstorm hit the town. The old lady wasn't able to get out. So she prayed to the Lord to bring her some food because her cupboards were bare. Later that afternoon, she heard a rustle on her front porch. She looked out and there were 2 sacks of groceries. So she stepped out her door, said, "Praise you, Lord. I asked for groceries and you delivered them." All of a sudden, the atheist jumped up. "There is no Lord. I brought those groceries to you." The one says, "Praise you, Lord. You brought me groceries and you made the devil pay for them." When we start thinking about how we should live, we have to go back to the basic of communication. How to speak to other people so that we don't hurt. How to speak to other people so that we can heal. How to do things in a way where we create more peace and more unity in the world rather than more separation. I recently watched a show on TED Talks, and a fellow named Julian Treasure gave a talk on the 7 deadly sins of communication. It was fabulous. 7 things that people do that make other people tune them out or resent them. And the first is gossip. Now, I've indulged in gossip a lot over my lifetime, and I still do to a certain extent, more as a listener than as a speaker. But gossip does nothing to raise up or to make better anything in this world. Gossip is speaking ill or in a defamatory sense towards another person behind their back. And I've also noticed that when somebody comes to me and they have gossip to tell, the first thing I start out with is, "You have to promise me you won't tell anybody." And I know exactly what they're talking about because they just promised somebody else that they wouldn't say anything to anybody. And I also know when somebody gossips about another person, it's only a matter of time when I'm not in their presence and they're going to gossip about me. It's just a vicious circle that does no good for anybody. The second one is negativity. Now there's times to have a negative voice towards different things that are happening in the world. When I talk about negativity, I'm talking about being negative about something that isn't negative. It's something we don't like. We can get negative about the weather. We get negative about somebody on the other side of the world that did this or did that, but we don't know. We don't know all the facts or all the truth. Talking negative is not easy to be around. The third one, which is the kissing cousin of negativity, is complaining. Complaining about things that don't need to be complained about. I know people in my life that are incessant complainers. Nothing is ever right, no matter what it is. Julian Treasure in his talk said he called his mother one morning and said, "Mom, it's October 1st. And she says, "I know, isn't it dreadful?" When I was in Sioux Falls, I would go down to the YMCA and swim in the indoor pool over my lunch hour. And there was a fellow there at the same time every day, and his name was Dwight. Dwight always complained about the temperature of the water. Either too cool or too warm. Too cool, too warm. Never just right. Well, the pool attendant thought that he would put everything he had into satisfying Dwight. So if Dwight said the water was too cool, he'd turn it up 2 degrees. If he said it was too warm, he'd turn it down 2 degrees. And he got this down to a point where he is right on the temperature between too cool and too warm. It was perfect. He couldn't wait for Dwight to come in. Dwight came in, he swam his laps, he got out of the pool, started walking to the locker room. And the pool attendant said, "Dwight, how's the water?" And Dwight says, "Too wet." You all know people in your life that complain incessantly, and it's tough to be in their presence, correct? The fourth thing is, I never used to have to do this, excuses. That was not planned. We all know people. We call them the blame throwers, the never do bads, the people that will not take responsibility for things they do that cause problems or challenges or hurt feelings or resentment. It's always somebody else's fault or always some condition that they had no power over. Excuses really don't have a place. It's like, I did something wrong, let me own it, let me learn how to not do it again and move forward. And it's difficult to be in a relationship with somebody that always has excuses about everything. They never take the blame, and it's always somebody else's fault. The next one is dogmatism, and we all know what that is. Dogmatism is confusing opinion with facts. And ironically, throughout the ages, religion, many religions, have been the greatest abuser of dogmatism. Talking about things that aren't true at all, but things that are their opinion. They believe them so rigidly that no matter what you say, no matter what proof you give them, they will not move off it. The next one is exaggeration. Now, first part of my life I spent in the car business. And car salesmen have a genetic condition where they love to exaggerate. That's why they're drawn to that business. No matter what the car is, no matter what shape it is, it's the best car you've ever seen. You'll never get a car for this kind of money again, I'm telling you, and I got someone else that wants to buy it. Exaggeration. The last one is judgment. Now, there's nothing wrong with judging right from wrong. I'm talking about harsh judgment. Those judgments that we levy on other people for no reason at all, simply because they're different than us, that they're outside of our tribe, so to speak. And we judge people because of their race, because of their religion, because of their lifestyle. We judge people because they have an accent that we're not familiar with, or they have customs and habits that are of a different culture. And we judge them wrong because they're not like us. Judgment can destroy the world. Harsh judgment hurts. There's been a lot of talk in the news and the media as of late about transgenders in the armed services. And I saw an interview on TV, and it happened to be a good friend of mine. She's a member of this church, and she was talking about transgenders in the armed services. Now, she had been in the armed services for 32 years. She retired as a colonel. While in the armed services, she was deployed to Afghanistan in 2010 and many other war-torn places. And she was talking about other people in the service that were transgenders, and it had nothing to do with their ability to carry out their duties. So now all of a sudden they're picked out and said, "You're not good enough to do this." Well, I liked the interview so much that I posted it on Facebook. And within a couple hours, I got 2 responses from 2 kids I went to high school with. One lives in Ohio, one lives in California, with scathing remarks, harsh judgments. I mean, they came down on me for supporting this person, and they came down on the whole transgender community because it didn't fit into what they thought was right and wrong. Excuse me. That hurt. My feelings were hurt because these used to be my friends. But it hurt even more, and I was greatly saddened because I began to think about what my friend must go through being a transgender woman her entire life. All the discrimination, all the mean and hateful words out there, all the things that people say with little minds, stand in the corner, in the shadows, shouting out horrible things. My friend's a good citizen. I'm proud to call her a friend. She's an outstanding service to our country. And I cannot stand by idly and listen to anybody throw brickbats at her or at the transgender community. As I close today, I'd like to ask my friend to come up. And I want you to take a look at her. And you'll see one of the sweetest, most wonderful people that I know. Suzanne Wheeler, would you come up? With love in our hearts and acceptance for all people, we'll now move into meditation.